Hi guys, welcome back. All right, Scorpios, I'm going to take a look at who wants to talk to Scorpio and what do they want to say. This may or may not have anything to do with love or romance. We shall see. Ooh, 10 of Swords. Hold on. I mean, this could be somebody big mad who says, I want to tell Scorpio that it's over. Or this could be somebody who's calling to say or writing to say, I've gone through a tremendous ending and I'm free. We have a Page of Wands. This is, I mean, finally I'm done. I'm finally done. This could be somebody who is I get this vibe of somebody who's like a tenured professor at a some college or something, and finally they're done working. They've got their 401k. Or this could be somebody that was in a long-term commitment, a marriage. This could be somebody that was in some kind of possibly quite stuffy environment where there was huge expectations of how they had to behave and how everything had to go. But at last there is a sense of freedom. There's a sense of, oh my God, I no longer have to do that. I am free of this. That's what they're calling to say. And I do feel like in this case, this is somebody calling possibly to say this. And they could be showing up also, though, with that Page of Wands, Five of Cups. It could also be either a hot mess or Scorpio was once upon a time a hot mess. I mean, that is Scorpio's energy there on that Five of Cups. They, meanwhile, could be an air sign or a fire sign. But we have them. This could make Scorpio like flood Scorpio with tons of emotions, or they could remember that once upon a time they hurt Scorpio. This could have been a year ago because we have like a clock on the tree of life. And oftentimes I look at that as like a year cycle if we see just one. Let me get a closer look at all of this though. Nine of Wands. Yeah, whatever they were trapped in, it's like they were fighting ghosts or something. They had, you notice that these ghostly figures are behind them. This just feels like this person was really, pulled into other people's drama, or they were dealing with ghosts of their past. They were settling scores that weren't their own. I don't know. I don't know if they had way too many people involved in, telling them what to do, or they felt compelled to, like, it sounds like they had to break a family curse or something. No, I don't believe in curses at all or anything along those lines. I'm saying it more as a figure of speech. Okay. But it almost feels like they, sometimes just when people tell us certain things, that becomes like our reality because we're steeped in like the family lore. We can tell ourselves that, oh man, I have to suffer, suffer, suffer until finally one day I can be free of all these, family demands. This could be somebody who came from like almost like an old family, like an aristocratic family, something where there was, again, I just keep seeing all this stuffiness, all of this like high expectation where it's like, it doesn't matter if you're unhappy. This is the way we do things. We do this for the public opinion. We don't tarnish the family name, the family legacy, because we see too many ghosts behind them. And I don't feel like this is all their exes. I feel like it's something bigger than this. It has a very decidedly like over the top theatrical quality to it. And the fact that they finally feel like they're free of something. However, now they're free to actually like love. In this case, they're free to finally be Scorpio's, mate. But they cause Scorpio a hell of a lot of grief. I Are you wanting to address that? I mean, you're calling to tell Scorpio, it's finally done. I'm finally free. Scorpio, I'm finally free. This is breaking silence after a ton of silence. And we see Scorpio cried over this person quite a lot. I'm sorry, in this storyline, please bear in mind, these are always fictional about fictional characters. But in this storyline, this fictional Scorpio cried over them for a long time. Maybe had 4 months where they felt really drained, or they had a lot of tears. They might have wanted to, just lay there and kind of think about this whole situation and focus on their healing. I feel like Scorpio might have had to like really do some like energy alignment. I almost wonder, just because of them coming in now as, I'm finally free, Scorpio, broke free of the family curse or whatever. I'm finally coming towards you. I can come toward you now that, the seas of life can bring me into your life. All this emotion makes me think that they disrupt Scorpio's emotions, like maybe they're a bit of an energy vampire or something, or they're like an energy drain. Queen of Pentacles. If Scorpio has been focusing on, dealing with the grief of all of this, and in silence and solitude working on grounding themselves, they could be very stunned. Scorpio may have a completely different persona. They may remember Scorpio as a person that wept when I said, I can't do a relationship right now. I'm stuck someplace else. I have too many obligations, Scorpio, and I'm not allowed to seek happiness because, hey, I was told that through generations of family. Whatever this was that made them like not be able to be in a relationship at one point, that is what has ended. I mean, could this be that they were married and they had a whole lot of other, people breathing down their neck saying, well, you have to stay married. It doesn't matter if you're unhappy. In our family, we all stay married. It could have been something like that. I just suggest that because this is such a big long-term thing to finally put an end to. And I don't think it was the relationship it's for itself. If they had, if it was a scenario like they were married and now they're divorced, I think it was the family and the ghosts of the family pressuring them, like, you're carrying the whole mantle of the way, our way of life, and you can't break away from that. And that's a lot more pressure for somebody to have to break away from. But if they've been able to do that, I mean, they may remember that once upon a time when maybe they said, Scorpio, I can't just, have a relationship that I want because, hey, I'm beholden to the rules of the family. That it might have hurt Scorpio. Scorpio may have wept. They remember Scorpio as somebody that cried over this, felt like this was such a, pitiful loss. Like, I don't get why you have to be beholden to other people's rules. What about your own life? What about you, choosing for yourself? I could see Scorpio having like wept for them, wept for this lost, relationship. And they remember that. And they even know that Scorpio's probably been healing, but I don't know if they realize Scorpio's a different version of themselves. This Scorpio comes across as very grounded, very, very, Scorpio's not crying. Scorpio's a full blown like Queen of Pentacles. If they are thinking, oh my God, I'm finally free, I can come towards Scorpio. And I do feel like they want to like almost like joyfully, like in this giddy energy, like tell Scorpio, it's done. I'm free now. I finally am free. What are you hoping is going to be the reaction? They're hoping Scorpio is going to be a very sexy, like come hither kind of thing. Like, I think that they have a fantasy of Scorpio being this femme fatale, this very sexy. Scorpio may have great legs, by the way. But they have this image in their mind of how it's going to go down. I'm going to tell Scorpio I'm finally single. Scorpio's going to be like, come on, baby. I've been waiting for you. 8 of Pentacles. They also are under this impression that like Scorpios, maybe in their happy fantasy, Scorpio's been doing nothing but working really hard, staying sexy and single. I don't know. Has Scorpio been learning something? Are they a graphic design artist? Were they in school for something? Have they been, getting certified in something? I do feel like they're very proud of Scorpio. I think they think Scorpio has like multifaceted talents. I feel like Scorpio could be an artist of sorts. They could be somebody that does like fine detail work. They could be a jeweler. They could be somebody that does, like crafts or digital arts or something like that. But they in their happy fantasy, although they believe Scorpio wept over them, they also think Scorpio has just possibly just been working really, really hard and making their life amazing. And that's what they're expecting. Now, they might not be far from that because we did see Scorpio as a Queen of Pentacles. Look, since the last they interacted with Scorpio, Scorpio could have really made their life like very financially stable. But let's just see. This person's calling to say, Scorpio, I'm free. I'm free of things. Their expectation is that this is going to go really well. They're going to find Scorpio in this awesome, balanced energy, even though they also remember once upon a time Scorpio cried over them. Let me just ask, where's Scorpio in all of this? So I'm going to sneeze. Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords, Scorpio might be like unable to even speak. They might be like, whoa, this is a crazy reaction that I'm having. Scorpio could suddenly like want to run away from them or put down the phone, or they may have a flood of emotions that they didn't even know they still had, that they've been carrying. It almost feels like Scorpio is going to like either blurt out something or be unable to speak, especially if this person calls them. I could see Scorpio being unable to speak. We got a 10 of cups sideways. They might say something really blunt and just be like, what are you calling for? You know, like, I was just now over you. This is very much like, we got two tens here. And we have Scorpio possibly impulsively either saying something or being unable to, or blurting something and then going silent. But it's about like maybe something they wanted to say a long time ago, because this is getting something off my chest. This is laying down a burden. That's why I almost think Scorpio could be like, you bastard. And then be like, you better be calling to say that you have something huge to offer me. You know, I could see Scorpio also just spitting something out impulsively before they even thought about it. Something they needed to get off their chest from a long time ago. I'm not saying it has to be name calling or anything, but that was just what popped into my head. But then there's immediately still that question of what you think I've been waiting for you, or what are you here to offer me? You need to lead with that. You're calling to tell me that, you know, you're done with something, you're free. How about address me? What do you got to offer me that would make me not hang up this phone right now? Like, that's more the vibe I'm getting off of this. Even though I think Scorpio's really stable and secure, I still think that they could get something off their chest, like, what makes you think I want to hear whatever else you have to say? Or what makes you think you have a right to call me right now? What are you offering to make me stay on this phone right now? You know, they may say something that blunt and then be quiet and just let this person like explain, because it's like, you need to bring the Scorpio one hell of a lot. Page of Swords. There is a component here where, look, I think if they're correct that they really made Scorpio cry once upon a time, I could understand how Scorpio might be like, I'm going to be listening to every detail of every word that they say, every word that they breathe, because I'm listening to hear, do I want to hear any of this? What I'm reading between the lines here. None of this looks like a mean or an angry Scorpio, just a Scorpio whose like peace is being disturbed all of a sudden. We do have a 5 of Swords. I think Scorpio is very open to like hearing what the heck happened, where'd all the drama come from. But you know, this is, I do feel a little bit of like accusatory, you know, we should have been a united front, especially if there was all kinds of drama. You're finally done with drama, but that, you know, all the stuff that tore us apart, why didn't you stand beside me and let the other external drama be the problem? Why'd you let it seep into things between us? Look, fights of the past, conflict of the past, where that came from, that all has to be. I'm wondering if Scorpio is going to be listening very closely for every word that this person says, because they are evaluating and gathering data to figure out how did they see this. It almost feels like they're on eggshells right now. How they talk to Scorpio. If they're making this phone call, if they want to talk to Scorpio again, what they say is very important, because Scorpio is listening to hear, how did they view this? How do they currently view it? What would they have done different? Do they understand that they caused me grief and that I don't want conflict in a relationship? Do they understand that? Are they trying to offer me something? I mean, I know this is like a lot of, you know, Scorpio, like maybe using that incredible brain that they have to, you know, cut through and read between the lines of what somebody is saying, because they're looking for like a lot of huge answers right out of the gate. Do I feel like this person is respecting my time? Do I feel like this person is telling me that things are different? Do I feel like they're trying to say sorry? Do I feel like they're trying to offer me something significant? Do I feel like they understand what happened in the past? Do I feel like they would do things differently now, or should I just hang up this damn phone? Like that's kind of what Scorpio is evaluating. I don't think they're doing it quite as harsh as the way I'm describing it. I think it's just like this natural default where Scorpio's brain is like, going through, sifting through all this, because again, there is a certain amount of I got done dirty, where I don't know if they understand that, and they need to approach me in exactly the right way. And it does feel like Scorpio says, how dare they even think that they have the right to call me right now, unless they're coming in with all the right things to say. So I'm going to listen. But damn, this Scorpio's brain is like taking in all of the minutia, because ultimately it does feel like Scorpio's saying, they did me wrong. Whatever they went through, whatever they're calling me to say, it better be for them to set things right with the fact that they did me wrong. That's how this comes across to me. And the thing is, I don't know. I'm not going to say that they don't see it that way, but I'm also not going to say that they see it in exactly the same way. And look, every person has their own life experience. We don't walk in one another's shoes. They say, now I can finally be Scorpio's mate. Once upon a time, they felt like that was impossible until they ended some of their chapters. So in truth, let me put it this way. It's as if we're saying Scorpio's never met this version of them at all yet. This would be the first time Scorpio will have met this version of them. Let me just ask, do they understand that they're on very shaky ground with Scorpio? We have synchronicity, and it's kind of like downhill and sideways. There is an element of what's going on here that you have the Chariot. I almost think that they could practically botch this only to have things still work out amazingly. Like this could be something else goes belly up. Like maybe in the time frame that they're talking to Scorpio on the phone, Scorpio's like, oh my God, I was walking out to get in my car as I'm talking to you on the phone, and I look and I have a flat tire. Great. And they're like, can I come over and pick you up? I say that because the Chariot, sometimes we look at chariots and it's like vehicles as transportation. It could be that maybe Scorpio was ready to hang up the damn phone, or they were on, thin ice. And then instead, like the universe kind of conspires to give these two a chance, because I do feel like they need to actually talk face to face, or at least side by side, or problem solve something together. And it's so weird because obviously this person and Scorpio have old history, but this is one of those situations where there's a little bit of divine intervention that might help these two be able to end up like interacting instead of just over the phone, because things are this felt a little bit nerve-wracking. This phone conversation is like, it maybe is like Scorpio's thinking this is not going well, or if they say one wrong thing, man, I'm clicking the off button. But then it almost looks like there's some divine intervention that's going to help this conversation and help get these two more space to actually converse and maybe look at each other eyeball to eyeball. So look, I'm always rooting for characters if there can be happiness, and if things are going to be, fair and just and right and respectful and all those things. But it does look like there's more conversation coming for these two. All right, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you for being here. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up. Bye.